Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Master Coach Podcast. I am your host, Jason Barrett, and the head coach and trainer here at Wild Success. And with me today is Christine Ong. And Christine is a mindset and wellness coach specializing in sort of the wellness and the fitness industry. She's been doing that for over 5 years now, and she joins us today to talk a little bit about her strategy, which is really focusing on working from the inside out as opposed to the outside in. So Christine, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Oh, so tell us a little bit more about, I guess, your approach as a coach. What was it that sparked you from sort of working in the wellness industry? First of all, tell us about your journey, right? Like, where did you start in the sort of the wellness and the fitness space?
Yeah, so I actually, I know that a lot of people think that coaches or wellness coaches, personal trainers generally start being like fit people as a kid. I was actually the kid that was considered the bigger child. So there was always this thought process of needing to work on my body, needing to be thinner, needing to kind of do all of those things, especially in Asia where everyone's kind of known to be quite slim. I was one of the bigger people among friends. My journey kind of started at my lowest, basically, where I was the biggest I'd ever been. My mental health was kind of down the drain, so to speak. And funnily enough, I found something that really stirred me forward, and that was circus arts. I have never done any cartwheels or handstands as a kid, and it didn't matter what happened in my life. I just turned up to the classes. I was the worst of the worst in class, and I still turned up. And that kind of sparked my fitness journey. As I went through my fitness journey, I realized that my mental health started getting better. And the more my mental health started getting better, the more my physique changed. And then the more my mindset worked on it. And it just compiled into a whole giant snowball, but in a good way. And from there, I just took my love of service, my love of helping people. And I was like, oh, what if I actually could help people through the processes that I learned and actually avoid them from actually getting to their lowest lows, so to speak. And that's what sparked my journey.
Right. Okay. So yeah, a bit of a personal journey for you that then transformed into you wanting to help people who are kind of like yourself, which is very, very typical of why we see people get into the coaching industry these days, for sure. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So you started with that approach, and I guess, did you start with learning the mindset stuff, or did you start with just the idea that, hey, if I help people with their fitness, then their wellness and their overall mental health will improve as well? Is that where you started?
Yeah, so initially I started off as a psychology student, and then I realized that it wasn't quite the path for me. Then I went through the fitness side thinking that it was just the actual physical side that would work in terms of boosting the mental kind of health, in so to speak. So I did start off studying personal training and working down that path. And what I found was during my session with clients, I was automatically, as you are having conversations during the sets or during the rest times, I was actually already automatically talking to them about their lives and how in a way that I use the term how to be storm fit. So it doesn't matter what life comes at you, you show up to the gym, you show up to yourself and your work, and everything else in life falls into place. So I would talk about to them about, their jobs or their stresses and all of that, and kind of work through that. And I think that kind of developed into a curiosity of whether I could pursue this further, because that seemed to help a lot.
Beautiful. So how did you see the difference between the studying the psychology initially and going through a little bit of that process? How do you see that and coaching differently? How did that sort of difference, how do you see that difference?
Yeah, so having been, I guess, a client in both aspects, from both the psychology aspect, the psychologist aspect, and also the as a kind of being a client of a life coach and other coaches and stuff, and also studying on the other side, so being on both sides, I can definitely see a need for obviously the psychologists and psychiatrists and all of that. However, for some people, there's just no connection. I've been to several psychologists and different psychiatrists, and I guess it's the way I'm geared or how I view things. There was just no true connection. I just felt mired in where I was, as opposed to truly moving forward. It definitely helped me heal a few things, so they are definitely needed. However, in the way that I am, it showed me that I needed a different approach. And what I found with a lot of people is sometimes they don't need that depth that the psychologist or psychiatrist does, and sometimes it's just a little boost of, not going into stories but going into changing the perception. And for me, that was quite important as well, just not needing that extra. So I definitely view things differently, in terms of both are needed. They're both very different, and coaching kind of helps you through life situations a lot more when it happens as it happens.
And gives you a little bit more sort of forward focus as opposed to focusing on the past in that
Definitely. Yeah. And what I found is quite a number of people don't necessarily need to wade through everything in the past to actually move forward.
That's a big one. I think a lot of clients struggle with that from time to time when they get stuck in the weeds and they get stuck in the stories and the what happened, as opposed to what they can do about it and what they can do to move forward. So completely agree. It's such a necessary field in both aspects, but there's just different levels of focus for different kinds of people as well. So it's not that one is better than the other. It's just understanding the differences. And as you said, understanding the differences for yourself as to which one resonates with you the best. So yeah, that's really good to hear. So you went through that journey, started learning, obviously, the fitness side of things, and then you've gone into, I guess, the coaching side. So tell us a little bit more about, I guess, your coaching. What do you sort of offer or do at the moment? Who do you work with? What's that whole scope like?
Yeah, so currently I am working with women to help them take ownership back of their lives. A lot of the time, we learn to be bystanders in our lives. Like, things happen to us and we're like, oh, this happens, and we put everything else in to help other people but not ourselves, without the thing I found is when we don't focus on ourselves, we rarely have enough energy to help other people, and it becomes just a compounding effect. When I say take back ownership of their lives, is basically not only just through health and fitness, so not from the outside in, as I call it, where it's obviously your food and your exercise, but from the inside out, where we look at mindset, we look at beliefs, and we look at things that are holding us back, our limiting beliefs as such. And I look to help them break that, and also break that generational beliefs that come into play, especially looking back at my own story, where my mother didn't know any better. She only knew what was brought through from generations, and so the stuff that she said to me was obviously absorbed by myself. And looking at it, I don't necessarily want to pass this on to my children or my nieces or my nephews, or basically any child or anyone in the next generation. And so I work with women from there. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, those inherited belief systems can definitely be a pain. We believe things, then we're like, wait, hang on, why do I believe that again? Where did that come from? Is that really mine? And at the end of the day, most of the time, no, it's really not. That's really nice to hear. So you mentioned a little bit about, I guess, your methodology. What is that method?
Yeah, so basically I still work similar-ish to, I guess, like the PT world, where we do the exercise, we look into eating. The main thing of difference that I have is I don't tell people what to eat. I actually teach them how to eat. We obviously have the base structure, the base components of how to eat, and then from there we slowly adapt it to the person. Because what I found, especially being from a completely different culture, having grown up in Asia, is that a lot of the kind of everyday diets, a lot of the even like calorie counting and stuff like that, they're all very geared towards the Western world. So if you look at my calorie MyFitnessPal and stuff like that, it's really, really hard to find your Asian style kind of foods to put in and count the calories. And I also found, in terms of me and some of my clients, actually most of the clients that are drawn to me, is that we have an obsession with numbers, which isn't healthy. And so what I tell people is, okay, there is actually truly a way of eating that is wholesome, that's really, really easy to fit into your lives, that doesn't require absolute focus, absolute obsession on numbers, whether it be the scales, whether it be calories, or macros and such. It's just actually learning the foundations and adapting it to your eating style. And then from there, I add in a lot of mindset work. We journey through the mindset of how we look at ourselves, of how we look at the person we want to be, and the ways we can change that as well.
Nice. How have you found the results difference from when you first started and maybe you were just focusing on a little bit more of the eating and the training, and then since incorporating a lot more of the, I guess, the more professional mindset stuff, like once you started learning the tools and getting involved in coaching, and how have you found the results of your clients shift as a result of that?
It was very interesting because it was definitely almost an exponential shift. I have had, when I shifted into the kind of coaching world, into more using the tools that I've learned with NLP and just kind of better coaching techniques and in general, all my clients that I had at the gym that had joined this program, all of them started to show huge results. They didn't just turn up to the gym anymore just for a session and then completely forgot about it for the rest of the week. They actually showed up because there was more accountability, there was huge amounts of support, and just the way I coached was definitely different. So I've had a client who, for example, had been with me for almost 6 to 8 months, almost close to a year, if I can put it that way. And in 6 weeks, she actually lost 26 centimeters of her entire body. And including the fact that she actually had to have emergency surgery for appendicitis, she still had those results and still fell back into eating really easily, even though she couldn't exercise. That was epic. That was probably our biggest win so far.
Right. I was going to say, for some people, the surgery would be an easy excuse. Was her appendix 24 centimeters? And, that was what got the loss. But no, it is hard when you're in momentum and then you have to stop, right? And momentum is such a big thing. We talk about it time and time again, but you're in momentum, you're getting results, you're going to the gym, you're eating well, you're doing all these things. And then all of a sudden you've got to stop from like a surgery, and then you're bored and you're not able to move as much. You're not able to do the exercise. It's easy for a lot of people to go into, what we call fuck it mode and just, I'll get back into it, once I recover, or, this always kind of happens to me, and all the little limiting negative mindsets that come up. It's really easy to slip back into that. So the fact that she didn't and was able to push forward is really remarkable. It's awesome to hear that they were able to get such good results after focusing on the mindset. And I think that there's two real key areas that people struggle with, especially when it comes to numbers and all that stuff, and that's finances and weight, right? People get really caught up and really emotionally involved, and their mindset really gets involved when it comes to either trying to earn more money or asking for more money or limiting their debts, whatever it is, and then when it comes to losing weight or getting fitter or improving their health in that way, there's always so much emotional baggage tied up in that. There's always a lot of judgment and guilt and generational stuff that we need to work through, because it's just, I don't know why, the numbers, it's just all about the numbers, right? Society is pushing certain numbers on us, whether it's an amount we need to make or an amount we need to weigh. So I'm glad to hear that you're sort of helping people get rid of those number stigmas and get some sustainable results.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you feel like has been some of the real common things that you've seen throughout your clients? What are some of the real common kind of issues that have popped up, or challenges that they've had to deal with from like a mindset perspective as you've worked with them?
The biggest one is time. I find quite a number of people, both in just people that I've spoken to as well as clients, it's about time. It's about, and funnily enough, they, what I call, psych themselves out before they even try something, because they get overwhelmed. They think that they need to put so much time into it, and that all of I don't know, X amount of stuff needs to happen, and they've convinced themselves that it's not going to work. That is probably one of the biggest things. that I found. Other than that, obviously, it's the monetary issue. What I've always spoken to people about is it's term of look at it as an investment. Whether you sign up to any coach, any PT, any health thing, it is an investment in your life. A lot of people tend to have a focus on, I want to get healthier because of my family. I want to run around with the children. I want to be there for my grandchildren. And some people do obviously have a bit more serious health issues where they definitely do need to lose for their own personal health. And it's like, these are your investments. We're doing these so that you avoid having to pay for future health issues. And so I think that is definitely one thing that people don't necessarily think about as their kind of investment. So they can go off and buy a new phone when their phone breaks down. However, they wouldn't put the money into themselves. So that's another thing.
Yeah. So a lot of rules around time and around what they think they'll have to do. I don't want to spend 7 hours in the kitchen every day prepping meals. It's like, well, where did you pull that number from? Where did you make that up from? That's actually not what you need to do. But a lot of people have these messed up rules around what it means to spend time on your health and your fitness. And I've got to spend hours in the gym or hours walking on a treadmill. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be that much. Like, we don't start, you don't go from 0 to 100 that quickly. You scale up to where you need to be. You don't just go, all right, I'm not training at all. Now I'm going to get you in the gym 5 times a week, and I'm going to get you, cooking homemade organic meals that you grow in your own backyard every single meal, and they've got to be lovingly prepared for hours on end. No, just get a bag of frozen veggies and start with that. Go for a walk in the evening, something along those lines. Just do something.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Love it. So what would you say was or are some of the top 3 or your favorite sort of tools, techniques, hacks, tactics that you like to use, whether it's with clients or whether it's just through your experience in your coaching? Like, what are sort of your favorite ones? Where it doesn't have to necessarily just be NLP tools, but it could be, certain questions or certain lines of thinking that you like to get a client to go down. What are your top 3 favorite sort of coaching techniques, if you will?
My actual first one is has to do with definitely mindset. And it is something that I always ask my clients first up. Before they make any changes, they need to sit down and look at a couple of things. The first thing is look at yourself as you are now. Where are you at? Who are you? What type of person are you? And then look at the person that you want to be. So future pace, so your goal person, when you get to that, how does she show up in the world? And from there, what can you do to slowly link yourself to that person? What changes might need to happen? It could be as easy as, I see myself in the future having smoothies every single morning, and that's something that I can incorporate into my life. It doesn't have to be super major.
Yeah, I love that. Just like a little bit of like a mini strategic vision. It's like, hey, where do you want to be? Okay, what actions is that person taking? How are they showing up? Let's model that, and let's start to link some behaviors to get there. That's awesome.
Definitely, yeah. And then the other 2 are definitely depending on the person. I found a couple of people do really well through the parts integration, because there's always something that holds you back. However, you keep starting all the time. And so a lot of the time there are just 2 different parts that are in conflict with each other. The last one does vary from different people. However, I feel the tool I use most as well is belief change. Because sometimes there's just not quite enough belief in whatever that they want to propel them forward. And sometimes talking them through it and going in depth. Obviously, I don't use all of these tools on every single person because not everyone uses it. So I guess reframing and belief change are kind of the third. They kind of go hand in hand. Some people don't need belief change at all, and it's just a reframing of perspective. So it's kind of one of those 2.
Nice. Yeah, some pretty solid tools there. I really like the, especially with the body image thing, getting people to sort of envision how they want to be showing up, and then having them, again, a big part of coaching is having the client link the behavior and say, okay, this is something that I can implement. This is something that I can actually start to do now. rather than you telling them, oh, yep, you should just start doing this, right? So it's it's a very powerful tool to get the client to come up with, for any aspiring coaches out there, to get the client to come up with the action steps and get them to commit to it. Because then if they don't follow through on it, then it's not like, oh, you set me unrealistic tasks. It's, no, you failed to adhere to the things that you set. So let's take a look at why perhaps you didn't make these things a priority, and then we can delve a bit deeper.
Definitely, definitely. And I found that it also gives us an insight into how big expectations they are, and help us manage their expectations as well. Because for some people, like I gave the smoothie example because it's something small that's doable. However, some people see, oh, I see myself in the future going to the gym 6 times a week.
6 times a day, fuck, that's commitment.
I know. And I'm just like, I don't even go to the gym 6 times a week. Are you sure that's something that you want to do first? Or is there something smaller that you can implement, like maybe just waking up at a specific time a day or something like that? So it's always good to see where their mindset is at and how big expectations they have.
Yeah, that's a really big one, because a lot of times if people have this expectation that that's what they need to do, and then they don't meet it, then they beat themselves up. Whereas I know, like one of my favorite things that I used to do when I was being coached was I would have 4, and I'm actually going into this sort of period soon where I'll have 4 days where I'm basically like, yep, 4 days I can pretty much guarantee I can get into the gym. And then there's an optional 5th day. It's like, if I can make it, awesome. If I can't, no stress. But yes, if I've got the time, like let's say I've got a free weekend, which, I mean, I'm getting married in like 42 days, which is really, really soon. So I don't have a lot of free time, but when I do, if I have the ability to jump in and go to the gym, I'll do it. And I used to beat myself up for not being able to complete an entire session. Whereas now I'm like, cool, if I run out of time, I run out of time. I'm just going to try and do the biggest, most impactful things I can while I'm in there. And then I'm going to jump out, because I know how important, those extra couple of minutes might be for, I'd rather squeeze something in than not do anything at all. And to uncover that for clients and see, all right, well, your expectation is a bit higher there. And that's where being the sort of the subject matter expert when you're in this level of coaching is important, because there might be a lot of coaches out there that are generalists, that are just getting started, that are just sort of helping people along from a mindset perspective through some specific challenges. But once you have that sort of subject matter expertise, you can say, look, that's awesome, 6 times a week. How about we start with 3 and then we work our way up to it, because we don't want to overload you straight away. And let's find that nice balance point. You might find you get better results by only doing 4 times a week as opposed to 6. Let's work our way up to that. Because a lot of people like to jump in the deep end.
Definitely.
They like to be a little bit all or nothing.
Definitely. And that's actually something I found in a lot of people, the all or nothing process.
Yeah. The idea that, if you're not 100%, you've got to be 100% committed, doing everything 100% of the way. And what I like to, the way that I like to frame it and rephrase it for those people personally is, I want you to be 100% all in committed to a moderate strategy, or to a strategy that's balanced, right? I want you to be 100% committed to this balanced strategy, right? And that might mean it's like, cool. If you're within 80%, basically that's like 100%, right? Like if you've ticked the boxes by being within, 80% of your food targets or 90% of your food targets, cool. It's basically, it's like, it's either a win or it's a loss. It's not I could have got 100%, but I only got 98%. It's like, no, cool. Did you get this? Tick. Did you do this? Tick. That's all that really matters. And it's like, it's not about being 100% all in and doing every single thing in your power at every moment to move that needle forward, especially when it comes to wellness, because wellness is such a big area of our life that it permeates every area. It's not something that you just stop doing. It's not like you retire and you're financially free. You can't be, you can't be financially free with your wellness. I've eaten 1,000 apples, so now I never have to eat an apple again. Right now I can have cheeseburgers for the rest of my life. That's not how it works. But people forget that it's something that you've got to be able to do for life. So you can't do it with a level of intensity that's unsustainable. So you've got to be 100% committed to a moderate strategy. That's what I found, at least.
Exactly. And I actually agree with that completely. And I actually did a whole live with my clients about how to view wellness and how people take a look at programs in general. It doesn't matter which program you're doing. It's about realizing that this is a lifestyle change. You can't tell your life to pause for 6 weeks so that I can do the program and then I'll get back to you. It just happens. So what we do is we try to focus on kind of slotting in little things. And I love the way you take how you go 100% into moderation, or be balanced, because I use the words turn up 100% of how you are that day. If you are 60% that day, you turn up with all of the 60% that you have. So it's about the same thing. It's about managing and knowing your energy.
Yeah, I like that. Show up as 100% of the 60% that you're at that day. And that's something that I have conversations with my partner about that all the time, where she sometimes feels guilty for not showing up as well as she could in certain areas. And I'm like, at the moment, we've got all of this stuff going on. You haven't given to yourself in a long time. You haven't taken that time for yourself. You've got to remember that if this is the best you can show up, this is the best you can show up. You can't expect yourself to show up 100% for everyone all the time, because it's just unsustainable. It just leads to burnout. And I think people get burnt from that because they also think that that's what they need to do in order to get results in health and fitness, because that's what's in the media. That's what's, you got to be committed, you got to get it done, show up no matter what, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, there's an element of, mental toughness. And I know there's a real difference for a lot of people out there between your ego telling you, oh no, you don't need to train today, and you actually needing a rest day or and I think for everyone out there that could benefit from this is, especially when it comes to things like intuition and listening to your sort of mental chatter, it's the more you listen to it, the better you get at telling whether or not it's bullshit. Like, immediately, if you're really listening, immediately whether or not you're just sort of, you're bullshitting yourself, as opposed to, no, you know what, this is actually something serious. I should probably take some time off and not do this. Like, there's been moments for me like that where I've been pretty tired and I'm like, oh, I could still go to the gym and get this done. Therefore, I'm just going to go and get this done. And there's been times where I'm like, no, I feel like if I go to the gym, I'll probably injure myself or I'll pass out. So I'm just going to take this day. But it really comes with that intuition, and the coach's intuition is something that you need to develop and grow over time, but you only can grow it by really listening to it.
Definitely. And also being a coach, the coach's intuition towards your clients is also through kind of experience and rapport. If you don't know that person, it doesn't matter how many people you've coached, every single one is slightly different. So it's about getting to know them, and also sometimes knowing when to set boundaries, when to hold them back, when to go, hey, you need to stop.
Boundaries and expectations. Probably my two favorite things to explore with new coaches is to go through the idea of, are your clients setting boundaries? Do they have unmet expectations? Like, those two key things for most people is a game changer. And especially if they're taking the piss after a little while, you're like, hey, hang on, come on, let's have a conversation. You need to stop. I saw you at the drive-thru at Macca's. Come on. You weren't getting the chicken salad there. The bag had grease on the bottom of it. I don't know what was in there. So, I mean, Christine, what would you say is one of the biggest things that holds new coaches back, right? From either from getting started or from being the best coach that they can be? What would you say are some of the big things that you've noticed that either for yourself or for others that holds new coaches back?
Well, I can definitely speak for myself. And I do know that I've spoken to a few fellow coaches, a few kind of colleagues, and I definitely see it in the PT industry for sure, is self-worth. Self-worth is, there's a lot of managing expectations. There's a lot of expectations that we put on ourselves that we need to be at X standard before we can actually do something. And it's like, well, if you don't have the experience, if you've never started, then how are you going to get that experience? How are you going to get that to that standard that you set yourself? So basically self-worth, and then it's just knowing what to do as well. There's a lot of overwhelm. There's huge amounts of places to learn in the industry, Google, even life coaching or Google personal training, and you've got like 20 million academies pop up, and it's like, how do you do it? How do you sift through all of that? So it's about kind of taking a breath and taking a step back and seeing what you need to do at the time. What steps needs to happen? I think, overwhelm and worth is one of the two biggest ones.
Yeah, I completely agree. When people you have too many options as to because a conversation is a conversation, right? It's you can say any word that you want to the client. You can go through any different line of questioning, and people are always going to say, "Oh, you could do this, you could do this." The options are, amazing. And then you're like, "Oh shit, well, what do I actually say? How do I do it?" And the big things are for us, just showing up and being of service, because then self-worth and overwhelm tend to dip away when you focus on just trying to serve the client as best as you can as a coach. But self-worth is a huge one, right? Who am I to have all the answers, or maybe that expectation that you're meant to have all the answers, as opposed to just embracing the fact that you don't know everything, because no one knows everything. I try my best to know everything, but even I too get stumped sometimes. That was sarcasm for those of you who weren't watching the video and saw me being sarcastic. And then I guess finally, before we wrap up, I do want to ask you what would be your sort of biggest tip for new coaches, or biggest thing that you would give to someone who's just sort of starting out on this journey?
The biggest one I can say is just start. The one thing that really threw me down this path and actually embrace, and now I feel like I'm doing everything that I love, is if you feel a calling, if you feel called to do something, it means there are people out there that already need you. You don't need to worry about how many million people there are in the market that do the same thing. It means there are specific people out there that need you, and you just need to start. Otherwise, you're just going to miss out. Just do it.
Yeah. And people are going to miss out on you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Damn. That's some good stuff. Beautiful. Well, I mean, Christine, is there anything else you'd like to share with the people before we wrap up?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a great conversation. And where can people find you on sort of social media? What's the Instagram handle? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I'm mainly on Facebook and social media. My Instagram handle is _ Christine Lexi. So Christine spelled Christine, Lexi spelled Lexy. So _ Christine Lexi for Instagram. And also on Facebook, it's just Christine Lexi Ong, spelled the same way with a Y. Otherwise, also on my Facebook business page, which is Stormfit Coaching.
Stormfit Coaching. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. It's been good to have you on, and hopefully everyone enjoyed it. If you do have any questions for Christine, feel free to post them below, either on YouTube or leave us a review on the podcast as well if you haven't already. If you're enjoying this content, let us know. Let us know if you have any future questions, or if you have any people that you would love to hear us interview and have a bit of a conversation with about coaching. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. And until we all see you next time, live or online, be bold, have fun, make an impact, and we'll see you all on the wild side.